So, Bedlam series is now over. Oklahoma State finally gets to 20 wins in the series. We're going to start off petty, just to have fun with it, because Oklahoma has once again figured out a way to lose a close ball game. They've become almost professional at it, it feels like. I just tweeted out a stat. Oklahoma's lost 9 games in the last 2 seasons. That alone has got to be a shot in the ball sack to a lot of OU fans. That right there is true. And then number 2, of those 9 games, 7 have been one-possession games. Only 2 of them have been more than 3 points, and that was last week at Kansas.
Yep.
And then their fellow Sunflower State brethren, Kansas State beating Oklahoma last season in Norman, 41-34, 7-point win for the Wildcats. Oklahoma lost 27-24 today in a game that was marred by mistakes, penalties, stupid plays, and questionable calls. We're going to be honest about that too, but that doesn't matter. Shouldn't put yourself in position. Jalil Farouk and Nick Anderson make 2 catches down here on this sideline right here. You don't worry about it because you're in position to at least go kick a field goal. And on top of that, you have the interception that was just Drake Stoops was wide open on the sideline on the far side, and then he threw it over here to was Nick Anderson, right? No, it was
Brennan Thompson.
Brennan Thompson, interception, and then same side of the field, right there, pointing at it. If you can see down there, is where Andrew Rame and Dylan Gabriel miscommunicated again. Unfortunately, I think that's number 4 this year that's happened. 4 times that's happened.
I think so.
Between those 2.
Yeah.
Something I don't know what the deal is there. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but they've been costly. That was 3 points up on the board. Oklahoma would then have been able to go down the field and potentially win the ball game on multiple possessions after that. So, what's your first takeaway? My takeaway is Parker said it last couple of weeks. F around, you find out. Oklahoma continues to F around, and they find out if you aren't disciplined, if you're mistake driven, and we get that there's injuries. Gentry Williams out, you're down to your 3rd string corner. You're down to your 2nd and 3rd string linebackers right now because Stutzman and Kanik just didn't play well, so they pulled him. But Stutzman's been out. I don't know what to say anymore because I don't know what to think at this point. Like, this was hard to watch. Just covering the game was very hard to watch.
Yeah, the Sooners just continue to find ways not to play complementary football. And that's just it. The defense in the second half, especially early on in the second half, was lights out. I mean, they played fantastic. They had Oklahoma State right where they wanted them. Yeah, and the offense just they can't capitalize on those mistakes. It was really tough to see. Gavin Sawchuk have the day that he did. Second week in a row that we've seen a running back go over 100 yards and look really, really good doing so.
Well, he did it. He did it in limited touches too.
Correct.
13.
Yeah.
His 13th touch was in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah. So it's, again, really, really tough. I think the big thing to take away from this is it's those little mistakes that by themselves you can overcome. But when you've got a dozen of them in the game, it bites you. It ends up biting you. Drake Stoops was fantastic this game, but he has to know where the chains are on that final route.
Yeah.
I don't like the flood call on the final route.
On the short side of the field.
Right, correct. I don't like that, but it is what it is. Look, this team to me, we said this earlier, the team feels snake bit by the penalties, by the inopportune fumbles, the things of that nature, all just the mistakes left and right, they come at the worst time.
What do I call it?
That Brandon likes to call it dumbassery. I'll say snake pit just to be even killed on that. So yeah, it's been rough. The big thing that sticks out on the stat sheet here for me, time of possession. Oklahoma State 37 minutes and 14 seconds. Oklahoma 22 minutes 46 seconds. Yeah. So they had the ball 2/3 of the game. That's it's hard to get points on the board whenever you can't get the other team off the field.
Okay, so the time of possession thing I think is a little misconstrued a little bit, and this is why I want to say Oklahoma doesn't huddle and they run.
Sure.
Oklahoma State, they huddle up after every play.
Right.
It was a lot. I want to get to something too, by the way, and I don't like questioning injuries.
It's bad now. Yes.
Every time Oklahoma would get going, they would have a cramp or something.
And that's become a trend.
But yeah, it has become a trend, not only in this game, but in college football in general. Something has to be done. A rule has to be made for that because that is not right. You're taking away from the. I don't know that I would call it the spirit of the game, but I would call it the. What would be a good way to call it? Just
like the validity.
The validity of the game. Because that's a very good point. Validity of the game, because you're starting to look at. There were multiple drives that they don't have those injuries. And again, I don't want to question injuries, but every time Oklahoma would get going, there was an injury. I think it was 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. Travis Davison was sitting by us for KREF, and he does our pregame podcast with Parker and I. And he tweeted the same tweet 4 or 5 times, like, here we go. There's another Cowboy down as Oklahoma gets into scoring position and cannot be stopped. And that has to be taken out of college football.
Yeah.
Has to be taken out. That is not right. And I would say that if Oklahoma did it, I'd be on here saying, dude, that's not cool.
Yeah.
That is not cool. And it just, I don't know. Like, but that's not why they lost. They lost because of mistakes, because of lack of details. Prime example, you have them down over here on their own 3-yard line. What happened? I get it. I think most would agree Vickers he's the one that got shoved. They called the pass interference on Makari Vickers nonetheless. So you live with it. Venables, the penalty on Brent Venables was just awful. But still, those things compound, and it gave them 30 yards, and they went from being on their own 3 to on their own 33-yard line.
Yeah.
In a play.
Yep.
In a play off of compounding personal fouls and a pass interference. So those type of things have to stop, and they happened last week too.
Mm-hmm.
And what did Kansas do? They scored on that drive.
Right.
They scored the go-ahead, I believe, on that drive.
Yep.
All of those things add up. You do stupid things, you lose stupid games. And that's what happens. At some point during this season, Oklahoma's going to have to get healthy, and they're going to have to get right back mentally, because I think they've lost their mental edge.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've lost their mental confidence. I asked Brent Venables today, I said, hey, are you scared that the players are now looking, going, oh, crap, here we go again. Here we go again. All these one-possession losses, close games, we can't pull them out. And he said if they do, that's on him, and he's not a good coach if that happens. Like, he admitted it. He said, dude, that's on me. Winners don't think like that. Right. Totally get that. I love the answer that he gave, but can he control it?
It's going to be tough. I mean, that's losing a locker room after a couple of losses like this. I don't know that you pack it up. Obviously, if you're Oklahoma, you still got plenty of things to play for. You do, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, you still have something to prove. You went 6-7 last year. You're now you're 7-2. There's still 3 games left, and you win all those out. You get to 10 wins, and potentially an 11th win with a bowl game. I mean, you still have lots of things to look forward to. there's a lot of young guys that are starting to be thrown into the mix that are being forced to have to make
they're going to grow
make
up.
roles, right? And so that is a positive, I guess, if you're going to try and take it away from a loss like this. And the other thing, and whenever I pointed out that time of possession, Alan Bowman, I was the first to say that he was not going to throw the ball and beat Oklahoma. I said that it was going to be Ollie Gordon or it wasn't going to happen. Alan Bowman's 28 of 42 for 334. No touchdowns, but no interceptions. So when Oklahoma State needed to move the football, they moved the football, and it was through the air. Ollie Gordon still had 139 yards on the ground, but Bowman's ability to move the ball through the air and hit his receivers in stride and them going up and making contested catches, that was the story of the game. That's what kept Oklahoma State continually able to move down the field and set themselves up. Now, again, this was just one of those games where it seemed like every time the ball got to midfield for either offense, at times, it was just done. And those are things, this rhythm-based thing that we see from Oklahoma, it's almost as if an incompletion happens, and it just slows everything down. If one thing goes wrong, it feels as if the entire offense just falls apart, and they're going to have to find a way to get over that.
Spitballing here. When you have a running back that is averaging 8.5, 10 yards a carry, at one point it was like 15.8.
Yes.
You give him the ball and let him keep going. They just went, hey, what in the hell was Dalen Smothers doing out there?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I have no clue.
Anybody else want to talk about that? Y'all can in the comments, because that confused me. Tawee Walker comes in, does a fantastic job. Sawchuk is having the game of his life. And you throw number 7 in there because Javonte screwed up to start the game. And you're running set plays for him. That made no sense. Like, if you're going to run a swing pass, you throw it out to 27 and let him cook.
Well, and that's the other thing is if you're wanting to reward the guy, if maybe he had a great week of practice, sure. Don't do it in the last Bedlam game do it at home next week against West Virginia. I don't understand. I mean, this situation, not that Smothers couldn't have made a cut, and we're not talking about this, but the situational awareness, it feels like, is just lacking completely right now. And I just don't know. I mean, when you look at what Sawchuk and Walker together did, 21 carries, they had 175 yards between the two of them. You got to have more carries than that. So, I don't know. I mean, where do you want to go from here?
There's not much more you can say. This is the final Bedlam game, and Oklahoma choked it away. It's usually the other way around, and it did not end well for Oklahoma this evening. It is what it is. And it is the second week in a row that the fans rushed the field, that they took a goalpost and they went and threw it in a pond for the second week in a row. And you just shook your head at something. You're talking about the 4th down conversions. Oklahoma 1 for 4.
Well, not just that.
5 for 15.
Oklahoma State was 6 of 19 on 3rd and 4th down, and they found a way to win the football game.
You're going to lose 90% of those games, except for you're playing Oklahoma right now, because they'll help you out. They'll escort you down the field a couple of times, and that seems to be what's going to happen. Look, we make jokes, but we mean well, and we're being serious at the same time. This has been a rough go for Oklahoma the last 3 weeks. They got away with one UCF. They got to right the ship. You got to have 28 back. You got to have Danny Stuckman back. Gentry Williams seems like he's going to be okay. Dislocated shoulder. Said he's pretty sore. I wouldn't be shocked if they minimize his play next week versus West Virginia. That hurts because he's your best corner outside of Woody Washington. And then, obviously, Key Lawrence was absent after the first drive of him once again. And rightfully so. The dude has been missing tackle after tackle after tackle after tackle the last 3 weeks and has cost Oklahoma. He cost Oklahoma that first drive. He's the one he is the reason why they scored. on the screen. He's out there, ducks his head down, dives at the knees, takes off about 20 yards, first down.
Yeah.
Misses Ollie Gordon twice
Yep.
on that drive, waltzes in for a score. They start out 7-0 really, really quickly, and it's because essentially he's not playing detailed, focused football. And that right there gets you beat every time. And that's just one of the few players that played notoriously bad today. It wasn't a good day for Oklahoma across the board. But anyways, Oklahoma loses 27-24 in the final Bedlam game. Tough, tough, tough loss. 3 more games. You got West Virginia at home, at BYU, then TCU at home the Friday after Thanksgiving. And we got you covered on OUinsider.com. We got a podcast coming up later on this weekend, the post-game podcast, where we're going to talk about a lot more after we rewatch the game, after we get our thoughts together. But we want to get this instant recap up for you guys. Again, Oklahoma loses 27-24 to Oklahoma State in the final Bedlam game. Make sure you go to OUinsider.com and join us.